cringe, you shouldn't words the word na tantrums, politically incorrect daw. Ano masabi natin dyan, bro? Toxic masculinity ba tayo?
Alam mo, hindi ko nga alam na may mga ganung usapan pala, no? Kasi hindi ko nga masyado mabasa lahat ng mga komento sa atin. Pero kung pwede nga, no, na-realize ko, wala nga ba masyadong female na vloggers when it comes to politics. Yun ang na-realize ko. Sana pala maganda kung meron tayong isama din from time to time na babae naman para di tayo ma-label na toxic masculinity.
Well, I mean, maraming LGBTQ na nag-vlogger at mukhang marami sa kanila na-suspend recently. We'll discuss about them shortly, yung mga na-suspend na mga kasama natin. I mean, maraming sila Lorraine Badoy, yung ano pangalan niya, professional journalist Chrisette Chu, yung mga ganun. Meron naman yung mga ganun type. Pero yung legit talaga katulad natin, no offense to them, medyo konti pa. I think medyo konti pa. We have to do something about that, yeah. Oo.
Yes, we should. Okay, may mga naisip na ako mga pwede. Sige.
Oh, pero brother, I mean honestly, is it toxic masculinity for us? It's not like we didn't question Duterte or Baster or Pulong's.
So,
Let's be honest. Parang unfair yung ganyan. Parang gender card yung ginagamit to shield her. Parang unfair naman yun.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, gano'n naman talaga usually ang labanan. Pag hindi ka na makalaban sa punto, insulto na lang at yun ang ginagawa mo, sabihin mo na lang toxic masculinity, labeling your opponent because you cannot defend your point na eh. And that is a tactic that's done by the left or the right. In the last few years, it's been a very successful tactic done by the left. Yung, di ba, pag mag-mention ka ng anything that's a little bit too, siguro, being a man and saying something, pwedeng labanatan ka ng toxic masculinity. Pag nagpo-post ka naman about topics, diba sinasabi nila, cloud chaser ka naman. So ganun ganun lang yung labanan papahiyain ka by labeling you kung maapektado ka sa mga labels sa'yo, nasa iyo na yan.
Well, for better or for worse, the Trump phenomenon kind of put all this woke nonsense on the back foot, but we want to do it legit, no? I mean, we don't do it. We'll talk about Donald Trump and your idol Milei and the whole gang later on, bro. But now going back to this, I just felt this. It's parang unfair naman sa atin na nakataon lang. There are a couple of guys like us na like-minded, we're comfortable, we can make jokes, we can ganon, na hindi naman tayo bastos. So I just felt napaka-unfair naman to draw an equivalency between us and yung talagang toxic masculinity. Ang tawag ko dito, toxic masculinity discourse. In fact, yung tumitira pa nga iba sa atin, leftist pa eh. Parang, wait lang, parang weird naman yung line. But, speaking of Sara Duterte, how did you find her very demure? Smile, demure, happy, everything will be fine. How do you find that? Without being toxic masculine.
Alam mo, nakita naman natin na na-realize siya na gaano kapalpak yung una niya strategy na parang magiging pareho sa tatay niya na nagwawala. So nung binago niya yung strategy niya at ginawa niyang mas parang pa-demure nga, pa-feminine effect, lalong nagmukhang fake naman. At nakikita mo naman na talagang pinipigil lang niya yung sarili niya at yung gigil niya eh. Kasi si Sara, sanay siya na talaga sa pagiging spoiled brat nga niya, sanay siya na getting her way. Tapos dito, charm din niya, especially yung media, para makuha niya yung loob ng media na pumunta doon. Ewan ko lang kung sino ba yung mga media na pumunta doon. Pero gano'n naman yung style ng mga to eh. Pero at the same time, ito yung interesting doon sa press ko na ginawa niya. Napansin mo, Richard, wala siyang sinagot na mga tanong.
Yeah.
Wala. As usual, that's the very popular trick of the Dutertes. Hindi sila sasagot ng mga tanong and babanat lang sila ng mga quotable quotes. And they try to distract you from the issue by mentioning other things. Ngayon, kung hindi ka matalas mag-isip, at ngayon, buti nga mas matalas na mag-isip yung mga karamihan sa atin, mapapalusot yan eh. At maniniwala ka sa kanyang mga pa-good girl vibes na yan. At that's what I thought about that press con itself. Honestly, the last quote, magaling sila dito to change the narrative. Pansinin mo, nakukuha nila yung headlines by making quotes like, God save the Philippines. Let me just correct that. God save the Philippines from the
Dutertes. Yeah. From the Dutertes. And in fact, the person who very rightly made that qualifier, very important qualifiers, is our very good friend, si Congressman Percy Sendanya, very brave person. Siya po yung una nag-support, nag-sponsor ng impeachment trial. At ito mga matapang natin, ang pangalan nung pandak na Batchoy, ay sorry, pangalan nung hindi pa nagpa-hair follicle test. At ayon kay Mo Twister, ay pinakamatalinong senador ever. Ito si Bato, what do you make of allegedly him saying na ipapunch niya sa kabila kasi para mapantay? I mean, that was very insensitive because as Sendanya, Congressman, made it clear, he had suffered a stroke. So that's a disability.
Yeah.
That's a health thing. Napaka-insensitive yung ganyan. I just felt ang bastos niya. He doesn't deserve to be a senator. In fact, I don't think he deserves to be in any elected office. And good to know that at least sa mga surveys, mukhang medyo namumulat yung mga iba. But you never know, right? I mean, what do you think about that, bro?
Well, I think right now, si Bato is trying to make headlines. That's why he makes these statements na kakaiba. And that's usually the style naman ng mga tulad niya na pag wala ka naman Bato na matalino o kaya na wala ka mabanggit na tamang punto na pwede mong i-counterpoint sa mga lumalabas, manginsulto ka na lang o kaya violence. Very typical brand of the Dutertes. Kaya nga natatawa ako sa mga, kung meron tayong mga viewers na sumusuporta sa mga Dutertes, I want you to think about this. Lagi na lang violence ang kanilang fallback pag hindi na sila kaya makipagdebate sa'yo. Always, it's about killing, punching, and that's what they do. Yun yung problema. Gusto ba natin na umabot sa ganung level ang ating discourse dito sa Pilipinas? Nakakaawa naman, di ba? At pansinin mo yung mga ibang hardcore trolls sa mga Duterte, ganun din ang style nila. Kaya so, it's on brand for Bato. It is very insensitive, but it's right on the Duterte brand. Ngayon, will it work this time? I don't think so. I think medyo nakakasawa na itong style ng mga Duterte at na si Bato eh. Kaya nga he's falling on the surveys. And the irony is, karamihan ng mga top 12 senatorial votes are Marcos supporters.
Exactly. I'll discuss that more, brother, and also, of course, your own election run. But going back to this, how should we respond to this? Kasi minsan nakakapikon din yung mga ganun yan ang toxic masculinity, di ba? Na sasabihin mo, sasapakin mo ibang tao. I mean, what the heck? You wanna do that barbarian stuff, keep it to your own place, right? But don't bring it here to Manila and all. Alam mo pare, ang naiinis, yung nakakainis sa akin, I was always saying, Duterte wants to do Davao things, keep it in Davao. Don't bring it to Baguio, my town. Kaya I was so pissed off when I saw my EJK na sa Baguio. Pare, we never had EJK in Baguio. In my 36, 7 years of my life, the only time narinig ko may EJK, malapit pa sa Session Road, was during Duterte's time. You wanna do Davao model, keep it to yourself. Don't bring it to my town. Honestly, I took it very... and to be honest, I will be interviewing si Mayor Magalong soon, and I'll put him on the spot kasi Mayor Magalong obviously is rightly very critical of yung mga corruption issues and all. But I want him to also discuss yung Duterte style kasi he had very prominent position during the Duterte administration. And I would have loved to hear more Magalong criticizing that kind of bara-bara approach. Although in fairness naman to him, he talked about empirical, methodical approach and all. But honestly, bro, do you think ang dapat response natin sa mga ganyang kabastusan is just to ignore or hamunin natin?
Hindi, sa akin alam mo Richard, it's fair naman to call a spade a spade. Hindi mo naman kailangan na tapatan in terms of panginsulto dahil bumababa ka sa level nila na wala ka na mabanggit din. Pero call it out. Tama yung ginagawa ng ating mga netizens for calling it out. Yun ang importante. Call it out for what it is and that's it. Huwag na tayong pumatol sa kanya level na yun na nga, insulto hindi siya sa itsura niya. And honestly sa akin ito yung usual
Bastos,
irony ng buhay. Sa aking pamumuhay, napansin ko talaga, pag may binabato kong ganyang mga insulto, tendency is karma, bumabalik yan sa'yo. At ang nakakatakot dito sa itsura ni Bato, baka siya magka-stroke one day tapos maparalyze yung kalahati ng katawan niya.
Wait, bro,
Yun.
just to be clear, we're not body shaming some people who don't seem to be watching their weight gain recently. But sarabuhay. But you're right, baka yung mas delegadong stroke ay yung... No, I mean, my worry, bro, is na-normalize tong family na to eh. Bato, Baste, Digong, parang they're making it parang cool na maging bastos na ganyan. So my point is that as men, right, how should we detoxify masculinity. Yung ganyan version ng
Oh,
masculine discourse.
I love that question, Richard. And alam mo sa akin, sa totoo lang, yun ang importante nga, yung sinasabi ko nga na let's be let's be respectful. Let us always discuss points. Never discuss personalities. Never hit or target people and label them, but just discuss the merits of every argument. Yun lang yun eh. And that's how you counter that. Kasi nga, you cannot counter toxic masculinity by being a toxic masculine man. Kailangan
Yeah.
talaga, umatras ka doon at maging mas philosopher ka siguro or stoic.
Or
Di ba? Tulad
suabe.
na,
Or suabe.
oo, Marcus Aurelius, mga
Oh.
Socrates, gano'n. Di ba? Dapat ganun yung dating eh. At makakatulong talaga yan na mag-improve yung no normalcy ng mga ganitong usapan. And I believe, Richard, in fairness to our viewers and the people in the Philippines, halos parang dumadami na ang naghahanap na itong mga ganitong klaseng diskusyon na may sense, na may substance, na hindi lang parang
Yeah.
mga walang kwenta. Think about it, umabot na tayo, almost nagpo-full circle na eh. Dati nagkaroon tayo ng panahon na yes, totoo, marami sa ating mga kababayan ay bigla na lang nagmumura na lang, gusto na lang ng patayan. And I will comment on this. May mga
Please.
nakita ako na post nga ni former Senator Laila de Lima, na may isang dating DDS daw na lumapit sa kanya. Ewan ko kung nakita mo to. Na nag-apologize. Sabi niya, alam po yung ma'am, isa po ko doon sa mga nang-insulto sa'yo na sinabi na kung ano-ano, mamatay ka na o makulong ka forever o ma-rape ka or whatever those insane comments that you would make online. Nag-sorry siya kay Manay Laila and nag-hug sila. Sabi niya, hindi ko alam paano ako nabudol pero ngayon nagising na ako at hindi ko na uulitin yun and I will make amends. We all have to make amends. There were a lot of people that voted for Duterte at his time with, what was it, like 16 million people voted for him. Tapos from there, nakita natin nga kung gaano ka nabudol ang ating mga mamamayan, ang kanilang pag-iisip to normalize and believe na ang pag-iinsulto, pananapak at pagpapatay ay okay lang. Ngayon alam na natin na hindi. Ngayon nagising na tayo, improve na natin sarili natin at dito natin nakikita sa mga ganitong klaseng mga programa na pinapanood ng tao. O, hinahanap nila to, Richard. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. That's why I'm doing this, and I'm looking forward to doing actually more of that whole Marcus Aurelius Seneca kind of self-control and true, genuine masculinity discourse, di ba? Ang point ko lang kasi, brother, here is, I think sometimes the lion has to roar to put the hyenas in the right place. To be honest, I mean, I don't want to go Mufasa, Lion King, but sometimes, brother, I do believe you have to roar and remind those hyenas that, what is the pecking order. Kasi unfortunately, dumami talaga itong mga hyenas na to throughout the years. And I think, while I'm glad there are many ka-DDS na in person actually very friendly, marami akong mga friends and all na bumoto kay Duterte and all. Unfortunately, there's a section there na they need to hear you roar once in a while and be put in the right place. I'll tell you what, brother. One of my closest friends before was, the reason I'm saying was is because he has passed on, is Carlos Celdran. You know what happened with Carlos Celdran, pare? Grabe yung
Yes.
ginawa sa page niya. Every time he'll post something, million yung talagang they'll put emoji of essentially the most horrible things and all. And he was warning me like, Richard, be careful about this, ganyan. This is super toxic. I've never seen anything like that. So he even came up with the term Duterte, which is very politically incorrect, but I know it came from a place of extreme anguish, no? So, ang ginawa ko, my strategy is when I open my public page, yung Richard Foronde that 2018, sabi ko, I have to roar once in a while. And brother, I roared more than once in a while. And you know what happened, bro, after a while? I didn't have to roar anymore because the other lions would come and roar for me. Remember that
Yan.
scene na, di ba? Na sumali yung ibang lions, di ba? Yung sa end scene, di ba? When Simba came back and then binak up siya. I saw that, brother.
Right.
So once in a while, bro, you have to draw the line and remind these hyenas, they're gonna have their place. Scarface and hyenas and also. Kaya ako, love na love ko talaga yung Lion King. I have many lessons I learned from that movie. I'm not gonna do the Jordan Peterson psychoanalysis type or and all, but honestly, I have my own version of reading of that. That once in a while, the lion has to roar so that the others come and draw the line. Otherwise, I think masyado silang pinagbigyan eh. And speaking of hyenas, Maraming mga DDS trolls sa kaibigan natin mukhang suspended ng account. Including yung isang professional journalist according to SMNI. I was like, what is your read of that? Suppression ba ng freedom yan, brother?
Alam mo, para sa akin, kung meron naman talagang basehan na maayos para ma-suspend ng mga accounts, so I'm all for it because there has to be a line drawn talaga. And for the longest time, wala yung linyang yun.
Yeah.
Ngayon na meron na, is it parang suppressing press or journalistic freedoms? Not at all, because when you talk about journalistic freedoms, to begin with, you have to be a journalist. And number one. Number two, you cannot get away with spreading fake news. At kadalasan itong mga to, they spread fake news. Honestly, kung any one of us, if you started spreading fake news, Richard, and you get banned, you deserve it. Okay? And I will be the first one to tell you. If you say to me, Chris, ba't ako na ban? I'll look at your page. I'll say, ito ko kasi mga pinagsasabi mo. Yun lang yan at the end of the day. Ngayon, if you talk about press freedom, pare, remember from 2016 to 2022, that's when freedom of the press was suppressed. Freedom of speech was suppressed. They sent chilling effects not just to journalists but to every person that dared to speak out. At alam mo, nung time na yun, naalala ko, nagsasalita na ako against kay Duterte. Ang dami nagsasabi sa mga kaibigan ko, anong ginagawa mo, Chris? Hindi ka ba natatakot? And then I realized ko, nga naman pala, ba't ba ako nagsasalita ng ganito? And it was scary that time. Look what they did to Inquirer. Look what they did to Rappler. Tignan mo ginawa lang sa
ABS-CBN, brother,
At tignan
yeah.
mo ginawa. Ano yun? Ang dami.
Yeah.
Lahat nung ginawa ng administrasyon na yun, nagsinungaling na sila, gumawa sila ng fabricated charges to be able to just pin down all of these media outlets. Yan ang suppression of the press. Ito, please, kung dito kaya ng mga troll army ni Duterte, God, ang hina nyo, Chong.
I'll try to expand this a little bit kasi yung nangyari sa Duterte time was that was kind of weaponized at the state level. Diba? Parang top-down yun eh. That was not organic. Let's just be honest about it. We're not only talking about troll farm, we're talking about the president who was troll-in-chief himself, essentially embracing and encouraging this and will give the marching order, di ba? So kung tatawagin si Digong, si Chel Jokno, pagtawanan yung ngipin niya on national TV, the
Yun.
next day, all attack. Lahat, di ba? Kung sasabihin ni Digong something about, I don't know, yung scrotum ni, sorry, ni Kitata or something. Like, I mean, yun yung level ni Digong, right? But,
Yes.
having said that, brother, let's be honest, I don't know if you've experienced it, but from my own experience, before Digong's time, and during last year's election especially, meron din tayong toxic na, because I distinguish Dilawan from Pink and Dilaw. Dilaw meaning yung mga sumusupport ng human rights, the good legacy of Ninoy, and then Pink, of course, alam na natin sino mga yan. Pero Dilawan, ito yung mga self-righteous, sanctimonious type pare, na who are not willing to accept any argument that goes beyond their version, their narrative. And any
Yes.
slight criticism of Lenny or slight criticism of their strategy, immediately they'll attack you, not too dissimilar from, and then pagka-elitism pa sila, well, they cannot do it to us, but nakita ko, like, they make fun of English of other people, they make fun of their educational backgrounds, they make fun of, very elitist, very deracinate. So unfortunately, we had that kind of, some sort of fringe elements of Yellow Army. In fact, one chismis, I don't know if this is true, was that, for instance, people like Nieto were being integrated into the so-called Yellow Army. I don't know how true that was, but meron daw Yellow Army na binibuild back in the day during Aquino's time. Kumbaga, yung Duterte DDS online squad, hindi yung Duterte Davao Death Squad, ibang usapan na yan, pang ICC discussion na yan. Some are saying that was a logical conclusion of the kind of atmosphere of shutting down discourse that was developing towards the end of the Aquino era. God bless his soul, President Aquino. He was not corrupt, he was a good president in many ways, but also he was pecan. He was also a pecan president. We saw
Right.
there were many pecan people in his cabinet and all of that. I remember his rant against the Supreme Court when sila Justice Carpio voted against his disbursement acceleration program. So I'm not drawing moral equivalence, but there's some sort of a toxicity that I saw on both sides that really turned me off and made me realize, brother, we have to create our own third wave, a kind of a detoxified, really unapologetically progressive and pro-Philippines, yeah, centrist, if it may be. I mean, you're far more libertarian than me. I'm far more social democratic than you, but we meet in the middle on so many levels. I don't call
Yep.
you like, oh, you're like, I don't know, a crypto bro, right? And then you're not gonna call me like, oh, you're like a Bernie bro, right? We don't do that. You don't call me Bernie bro. I don't call you crypto bro. But you, I mean, they people. I'm sure some people would call us along those lines. But I just call you bro. So my point is, we have to be honest na unfortunately over the past decade, we saw this kind of erosion of norms kung saan ni-normalize yung bullying. Online bullying,
Yes.
discursive bullying, and then it just reached its hellish level under Duterte. So, weirdly, parang BBM helped to detoxify it, right? Because he's like the chillest guy out there. And even yung
Right.
mga supporters ni BBM, interestingly, dumalaw sila dun sa January 31. You can see my interview with them. Sabi ba ngayon isang BBM vlogger, andito po kami para suportahan yung Sara impeachment. Pero kung mag-criticize kayo sa budget ng gobyerno, okay din sa amin yan. Basta daan lang natin sa constitutional na paraan. Yung ganyan. You will never get
Oh,
that from
wow.
DDS people. And to be honest, you won't also get that from some of the Dilaw vloggers who it's essentially all or nothing. Either you're with us or you're with the dark side, and you know yung kind of moralistic, self-righteous, sanctimonious
Yes.
nonsense and all of that. So I don't want to be presumptuous. Sasabihin na naman na cloud chaser tayo. But I think in our own little ways, brother, we're trying to create new norms of engagement and discourse kung saan we can agree to disagree or even sometimes passionately disagree. Minsan, di ba, nagpapatawanan tayo sa mga ibang issues, di ba? I throw shades at Milei, you throw shades. But it's cool, it's fun, it's engaging, it's patriotic. Yun ang sinasabi ko. So I think, again, not to exaggerate our role, but I think at the very least, we're part of this new movement of a more mature, critical discourse in Philippine politics. Don't you think so? Again, without
Yes.
patting ourselves too much on the back, obviously. I
Yeah.
mean, in our limited way.
You know, alam mo Richard, there was a time nga naman in Philippine politics na ganito yung discourse. Na nakakapag-usap yung mga iba't ibang partido at kahit na hindi sila magkasundo, hindi sila nagpapatayan. At nakikipagdebate kung panahon makipagdebate pero pagkatapos sa debate, maayos ang kanilang pag-uusap sa isa't isa. Ngayon, ang nangyayari dito ay tama yung sinabi mo na hindi lang ang mga DDS ang medyo ganun ka-extreme. May mga iba din na dilawan na ganun din ka-extreme na all of nothing. Sobrang polarized.
Yeah.
And they are literally the flip side of the same coin. Kaya nga, I try not to identify with any party or any color. And yun yung rason Kasi I have made some tweets o kaya may mga nagbanggawa akong mga video na pati mga dilawan or pinklawan or whatever you call them have attacked me for my perspective dahil hindi kami nagkasundo ng perspective.
Yeah.
And it came around to mga certain social issues. And nakita ko yun na basta hindi ako nag-agree sa kanila, wow, ako na yung ina-attack. The very same people that supported me when it comes to politics. Kaya nakikita ko yung toxicity nun
Yeah, bro.
is prevalent in the
Super
culture
toxic,
in the
yeah.
Philippines. Actually, in the world, ganun talaga. So, kung nanonood ka na itong podcast na ginagawa namin ni Richard, siguro this is a good time for you to be introspective at tignan mo rin yung sarili mo kung nagawa mo ba yun. Kasi maganda talaga na magkasundo tayo na hindi tayo palagi magkakasundo. Yun ang importante at pwede tayong mag-uusap at may respeto sa isa't isa. Tama ka. Alam mo, as much as natawa ako nung panahon nung kampanya ni BBM na palagi sinasabi, di ba, na yun ang bato ng mga BBM supporters na respect na lang, di ba? Tapos hindi sila makikipag-debate.
Correct.
Medyo, that was too
Respect
sheepish
my
for me,
opinion.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Di ba? Parang, pero okay yun pero at the same time, good now, nakikita natin that it actually translated to what it is now. Na even BBM vloggers have reached out and wanna do a vlog or a podcast with me and I'm sure with you a lot, di ba? Kaya panalo So this is that awakening na inaantay natin and it's just starting. We're at the cusp of it. Nag-uumpisa pa lang to. Kaya importante na the people that watch our video and the
Yeah.
other videos like this na ma-realize nyo at be more introspective about yourself. Kung sobrang kang hardline sa position mo, baka kailangan mo tignan on how to find the middle ground para magkasundo tayong lahat. And this is to go against the echo chamber that the algorithms of social
Yeah,
media has
100%.
thrown upon us. Kaya nagkakaganito tayo ngayon, kaya nagiging polarized tayo. Matuto tayong tumingin sa ibang pananaw at mag-intindi sa isa't isa. Para sa ganon, lalo mag-i-improve pa yung pag-uusap natin at pag-iintindi natin. At we'll come up with better solutions for the country. Kasi at the end of the day, remember, before your team Duterte, before your team BBM or team Dilaw or team Pink, team Pilipinas tayo lahat. Yun ang una. Pag magkaintindihan tayo dun sa puntong yon, Richard, okay, everything else will follow. Pero at least mag-umpisa tayo, team Pilipinas tayo. So, ibig sabihin nun, pag ikaw pinaglalaban mo at dinedepensahan mo ang China, may problema na tayo. Yan pa lang. Kasi obviously, we're not on the same team. At para sa akin, kahit sino mga vlogger dyan o mga influencers na dinedepend ang China at ang ginagawa nila, dapat hindi na sinusuporta ng mga ganyan at mga politiko na nagiging team China.
Marcoleta.
Bakit may kilala ka?
Mark ulit. Mark.
Di ba? Yeah, exactly.
Ano sabi ni Marcoleta? Wala daw West Philippines. Sabi ko, wala rin yung 9-dash line, 11-dash line ng China. Bakit hindi yun ang kine-question mo? Bakit kine-question mo yung side natin? Ba't di mo kine-question yung China side?
Yeah, malaki yun. Sorry I mean, ano kaya? May malaki ba binayad sa mga ganyan? O bakit kaya nila sinusuporta?
Oy, wala tayong sinasabi ha. Wala tayong sinasabi. Sinasabi ko siguro misinformed lang yung mga ibang kaibigan natin dyan.
Wow. Ganun ka misinformed. Kaya nakakatawa na kung sino sumusuporta sa mga politiko na to, dito sa social media, mag-isip-isip na kayo. Kasi ibig sabihin nun, tinatraidor nyo sarili nyong bansa. Yun lang yun.
Bro, please
Nakakaya talaga.
please be careful kasi I have an invitation to go to Beijing for a South China Sea conference soon, so I wanna come back alive and all. So anyway, yeah. No, actually, I have many. Yeah, I actually, you know, ganito na lang bro. I have a weird relationship with China kasi tuwang-tuwang China sa akin pag binabash ko si Trump, which we'll discuss later on. They know me as very critical of at least certain section of American policy, including their imperialist history. So actually, weird yung relationship ko sa China. Parang ko sinasabi, I completely disagree with you on South China Sea and Philippines and all, but actually, I agree with you on, you know, US wrongs in the Middle East and all. So medyo weird yung relationship ko with China, brother. And I'll say personally, one of the most hospitable treatments I've ever had were always in China, whereas in Beijing, in Hainan, fantastic times. So I love China. I love Chinese people, brother. I've had great times with China. Yung first girlfriend ko ay Chinay. I mean, like, I have always a special relationship with the Chinese folks. I'm a great admirer of the Chinese civilization. So just to be clear to our friends, no, when I criticize, it's the Communist Party's West Philippine Sea policy. Completely different yan from everything else that has to do with China. But that was a half joke. Of course, we will call out. Kasi ganito eh, I'll tell you what, bro. For all criticism we can make of Xi Jinping, at least he's a patriot. He wants China to be a strong country. That's what I cannot say about yung mga Team China sa Philippines. Right? Yun ang problema eh.
Yep.
At least Xi Jinping is a patriot. At least those people in the Chinese Foreign Ministry fighting for their country are patriot. I may not agree with them. They may be my enemy in the West Philippines Sea, but they're patriots. I question the patriotism of a lot of these other people na nagja-junket sa Beijing, biglang may fellowship, may complexity theory, charot-charot na pag hindi lumitaw. But I want to rewind a little bit, bro, on this issue of toxicity and all of that. Kasi ang problema din kasi, brother, is the algorithm favors bardagulan eh. So napansin ko,
Yes.
gusto, like for instance, I had back and forth with si Banatbay over the drug war. And it did very well online. Pero I one-off ko lang ginawa. Kasi I wanted to make sure na I did that hindi dahil lang sa clickbaits. I did that because I felt I had to make that argument. And then hindi kami bastos ha. In fairness kay Banatbay, si Byron, even if completely different side kami, he was very respectful. Hindi siya bastos, gano'n. And and off the record, he's very respectful. So I completely disagree with him on practically every political issue. But in fairness, we were able to have that. But napansin ko, gusto ng tao yung bardagulan talaga eh. Kaya nga, what I like about this talking to you, Mark Gamboa, hindi ko masabi kay Ronald Llamas kasi si Seker Llamas medyo bardagulan, is that, in fairness naman, it looks like there are people also who like this kind of medyo level-headed discussion, although passionate and intensive. But yun nga eh, unfortunate problem kasi is also the algorithm which really favors bardagulan and all of that. So I hope people don't just, I hope people make a conscious effort of supporting yung mga more soft-spoken, methodical and thoughtful vloggers, including my
Yeah.
more methodical versions. Kasi bro, yung mga bardagulan version ko do like 10 times more better than my lectures on Orientalism or whatever. I don't do it for the views pero parang minsan nakakadismaya na parang you do this lecture proper na sa tingin ko ay world level dahil literally I delivered it, let's say, in Harvard Law School. And then I compare dito sa isang walang kakwenta-kwentang bardagulan ginawa ko. And it's a 10-to-1 ratio. Like, depressing yan, pare. Like, what the heck? You like trash, di ba? But me being me, I keep on doing what I'm doing until sabi ko, magkakaroon tayo ng audience. And in fairness, there's so many people supporting you, supporting what we're doing here. Kaya talagang maraming salamat sa ginagawa niyo. We had 3-hour-long, 2-hour-long conversation with Congressman Walden Bellew, Professor Bellew, and Ronald Dimas on Gramsci, Marxism, and Hegel, right? I never thought there will come a day where there will people who'll have an audience for that. But apparently there is. There was so much, bro, na may nagdoodle ng pictures namin and Karl Marx and whatever while we're doing that. So,
Wow.
sana after this, someone doodles our picture with Milei and like Trump. And I'm just kidding. But going back to this, bro, I share your optimism. I appreciate that. I want to ask another thing, bro. Speaking of yung toxicities, I don't know how to put. It's not like I didn't reach out, brother. I've reached out to many people, different gender and all. Ayaw nila makipag-collaborate, bro eh. And parang style nila is, si Richard, cloud chaser yan, whatever. Parang, excuse me. I've talked to Henry Kissinger. I've talked to Prime Minister. Who the F are you to give me clout? So, marami may mga pathetic na ganyan mindset. And then, I think may mga kasama din tayo, unfortunately, na takot sila na stigmatize sila ng mga ibang kaibigan nila na butthurt sa akin. So, medyo cold sila sa akin. And for me, like, whatever. Like, you don't want to collaborate. That's your problem. But just to be clear, the reason I do a lot of collaboration with this, madali kang kausap, brother. And mahusay kang kausap. Same with Ronald Llamas, same with Walden Bello, same with Justice Carpio, same with Antonio Trillanes. So actually, itong sausage parties things na some people see, it's spontaneous. Nagkataon lang. I reach out to other people. Hindi ko alam drama nila. I'm busy, I'm this and that, whatever. So bro, hindi ko pipilitin sarili ko if other people don't want to collaborate. But to be honest, on my part, I've been always open to discussing and all because I don't fear anyone. I can debate with anyone on earth, literally. No offense. Debating, I was a competitive debater during my college days. So I just hope na we nurture this culture na, you know, we may have disagreements here and there, pero wag naman tayo wag tayo mag-silo-silo, click-click. Yun yung problema ko. And if we had disagreements past year or the other, no, sana naman wag tayo maging vindictive. Yun lang naman ang issue ko, pare. So again, just to explain, bakit purong kami na lang nag-uusap is because hindi bukas makipag-collaborate yung iba. Di, problema nila yan. I'm sorry, it's not like it's my loss. Yeah,
Alam mo, naku-curious tuloy ako malaman kung sino itong mga to eh. Pero siguro hindi mo babanggitin online yan. Baka
hindi naman kailangan. I mean, because people keep on asking, oh, Richard, why are you not collaborating with XYZ? Like, you think I'm not open to, you think I'm scared of them or whatever? Like, hello? Like, no, it's because they were not open. Yung iba naman, they nicely reply but they have a million excuses. So, wala akong patience sa ganun, bro. I'm like, boom, 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 boom. I go like that. Like, let's go. Right? For instance, nung time na kami ni Trillanes na criticize namin si Ma'am Lenny for that Sara Duterte meeting, I reached out to people within Lenny's camp and all. And then 3 times nag-reschedule yung isa.
They declined.
No, hindi nag-decline yung isa, pero 3 times nag-reschedule. Get out of here. Sabi ko, wala akong time. You don't wanna talk, whatever. Right? So parang my point is, I find it very immature. Honestly, I find it very third world immature. And I'll tell you what, it very much reminds me of Kamala Harris people refusing to have Joe Rogan podcast. Right? That's what's gonna cost you. Because,
right.
you know what? That's down the road, you know, like the people you're trying to distance yourself from, pa-safe kayo, walang mangyari sa inyo. You'll always lose. Buti pa nga yung iba, mas bukas pa nga sila makipag-engage sa atin eh. Kahit alam nila, critical tayo, di ba? So, all I'm saying is, even from a political, tactical point, yung ganyang ugali na pa-clickish, and they just want to be interviewed by friends and all, Paala kayo sa
Right.
buhay nyo. You're gonna be losers forever, politically speaking. On our side, we'll do what we always do. Was that bardagulan enough, bro? Kasi hindi tayo nag-aaway sa ibang inaaway ko na. I'm just kidding. No, but bro, I'm just, that's how comfortable I feel with you. That I'm willing to just lay it out. Kasi, nakakasawa na. I keep on getting these messages. Parang ganda ng ganito. Bakit si ganito, ganyan? Sabi ko, ayaw nila eh. Anong pipilitin ko pa sarili ko? As if naman I need them. Parang hello. Diba? So, yun lang.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Exact. So, I don't
parang-
need to name
parang
names.
lalim ng hugot mo,
Hindi. Sa akin kasi bro, parang ilan na nga lang tayo na medyo matino-tino
Yes.
na nag-effort. Tapos magaganyan pa tayo bro. At may chance na tayo to finally turn the tide. Naban na nga yung mga walang yung
Yeah.
bayaran na trolls. Humina na nga yung mga iba. Hanggang, alam mo, TikTok lang ako natutroll ngayon. Like on all other platforms, nakaganyan na ako. Chill-chill lang ako. Parang si anong pangalan niya? Si Cheese. Pag-usapan natin si Cheese, microblading tattoo boy. No,
yeah.
pero, di ba, parang tayo-tayo na nga lang, ano pa tayong ganyan. Sayang, kasi I think we have a historic opportunity, bro, to turn the tide. Ako, para sa akin, this is basically my life principle. I don't care. I enjoy. I thrive on confrontation and all. My parents can attest to a 4-year-old pa lang ganyan na ako. But nakakadismaya bro kasi we can do so much more together if we learn how to
Yes.
collaborate and all. Now, if you don't agree with me on one issue, na bahala na kayo sa buhay nyo. But anyway, tama na yan. Let's talk about Cheese Escudero. What is your
Okay.
read of Cheese Escudero na see you in June? Is it because kailangan niya ng maintenance dun sa microblading sa eyebrows niya? Is it because kailangan na mag-attend ng Fashion Week sa Paris with because we know that a lot of constitutional law experts and a lot of former senators, including the Lima among others, have made it clear that immediately, the moment the moment this goes to Senate, trabaho ng Senado to act upon it, and hindi excuse ng session na nag-recess na sila because you can still do trial during recess period. Duwag ba siya? Is he trying to play it safe? What is your read of this situation? Or he just needs time for maintenance, beauty sleep?
Alam mo sa akin, I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Kahit na mukhang suspicious yung mga ginagawa, I still would like to look at it na parang, in this case, honestly, I think it's very political yung ginawa ni Cheese to be able to be on the neutral side, to make it look like it's neutral.
Yeah.
Kasi remember, he's closely allied with the Marcoses. If you recall, he said nga na his best friend or one of his very close friends is si Lisa Araneta Marcos, the wife
Right.
of BBM, the first lady. Okay, ganun, malapit silang dalawa. They're buddies. Chummy-chummy yan for a long time.
Yeah.
Kaya I think this is just his way of just showing neutrality or at least having the semblance of neutrality na hindi kami nagmamadali, and let's see. Now, it also buys him time na pag sinabi niya June 2, it is under-committing. Yet, if the impeachment trial happens earlier than June 2, then he over-delivers. Then it looks better for him. So, and pagpansinin mo naman, si Cheese Escudero, ang brand niya talaga ay laging sitting on the fence for everything. Kung marami sobrang mga nagsasalita on one side of a debate, pupunta siya sa kabilang side, kahit na hindi popular side. At nakakainis nga siya when he does that. Para siya nagmamarunong na feeling mo siya yung may meron siyang monopoly on what is right and wrong because he's the Senate President and he's the smart one. Parang ganun yung dating But really, I really see it as a political tactic of what he's doing. Very similar to how BBM does it. Yun, pareho din yun BBM was very quiet.
That's my problem. You already have BBM rightly doing the plausible deniability, but the Senate kasi has to act upon it. Just to be clear, bro, I completely agree with you on one level, which is actually, constitutionally speaking, although it is not clear, the Senate president could be in line of succession if the VP is impeached. So actually, he has a reason to try to wash off his hands, diba? Kasi he cannot come off as masyadong excited because he could be the beneficiary. He
Yep.
could become the next vice president. And Cheese being Cheese, I'm sure if he becomes the next vice president, he's gonna run for president. So I understand that. Ang point ko lang is, unang-una, ang gulo nung explanation niya nung press conference niya the other day. Kasi parang inamin naman niya na pwede naman trial kahit wala na sa session. And then, ang dami niya mga hanash about I cannot force people to come in, blah, blah, blah. Kasi the least that was expected is at least the trial begins, but the voting, we can wait until the next Congress na lang. But parang ang position niya ngayon is, hindi, let's just kita-kits na lang sa June, which is a bit, parang for me, that's underperforming. He could have, parang the Goldilocks approach could have been just to get the ball rolling lang, but not to see the conclusion until after the election, because we understand it. There are a lot of even admin bets na takot sila. Even if they lose 100,000 votes in Davao, 200,000 votes in Visayas, 300,000 votes in Mindanao, that could cost them a place in the Senate, because the Senate race is very, very tight. I understand that. But for Cheese to completely avoid even conducting the trial and making dubious constitutional arguments and all, which goes against precedents, medyo para sa akin masyadong malasado. And speaking of malasado, wasn't that his problem the last time he ran for the high office? Nung tumakbo siya ng vice, sa sobrang malasado niya, he went from 40% to what? 2% in the end? And he even dragged down Grace Poe. I think Grace Poe would have done way better if she picked a much more feisty vice presidential candidate who would have pushed Grace Poe to show more her... Because Grace Poe has a feisty side. For some of us who met her in person, meron siyang palaban na side eh. Pero masyado siya na cheese eh. Na melty cheesy siya. And to be honest, kinain sila ng buhay ni Digong because Digong came out as a man of conviction politics, and they were all eaten alive. So, I think Cheese has to up his game. Ganyan siya 20 years na ganyan pa rin, yung pa-safe on one hand, on the other hand. I think it's time for Cheese to level up, including his fashion.
Yeah, but then again, Richard, if you think about it, naman, it's done him well. He's Senate President, so it works for him. Why fix something that isn't broke? Diba? It seems to be working.
Yeah, but that may not last that long. I mean, Tito Soto is coming in soon, and I don't think he's happy to just be a senator. I think he really wants to become something higher than that, and maybe he has the potential for that. But he has to really up his game. But you're right. I mean, he has to do what he has to do. For all we know, he's the other BBM. You're right. That's actually a very good observation. That speaking of BBM, I think in fairness to BBM, one thing he did was to detoxify our political discourse by being very gentlemanly. Yep. The second thing is he has done the Fox part very well. I mean, look at the Congress vote. My goodness, 200 what? 38? 250? I mean, this is
Yep.
I mean, yung iba hinahabol na, tama na, sarado na, sinara na yung shop. And to be fair, risky yung ibang congressman. I mean, like Congressman Percy was telling me the other day, may mga nagmamakawa sa kanya, uy, please, akbayan, tulungan nyo kami kasi yung, alam mo na, anong grupo na mga yan, at saka yung mga DDS, titirahin daw sila ng big time. In fact, as we speak, and this was your tweet, right? May demolition job against all of those signatories to the impeachment proceedings, right?
Yep. Pero alam mo, Richard, ang comment ko lang dyan, is it's interesting that even with the demolition job, even with the threat of the DDS trolls na hindi daw nasusuporta ng mga pumirma ng impeachment, maraming pang nagpirma, lalo pang parang na-harden yung resolve nila to sign this impeachment complaint. Remember, at 215 signatures, they didn't need to sign na yung iba. Bakit pa sila pumirma kung hindi na kailangan? So I'm going to beg the question, Richard, that the DDS trolls are throwing out there, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this one. Ano yung take mo doon sa balita na pinapakalat nila na yun na nga, binigay daw na pork barrel or ayuda or whatever it may be to all the congressistas na nagpirma nitong impeachment complaint, kaya daw lahat excited pumirma. What's your take on it?
Are you referring to a certain entity called Maharlika? I mean, like, di nalolo.
Well, did you see that? I don't know if it's true nga yung kay Lord and Suwan. Si Congressman Lord and Suwan posted na parang nag-apologize siya sa mga DDS
Pero fake news yun, di
supporters.
ba? AI yun? Parang fake yun?
Kaya nga parang fake kasi wala naman nag-pick up
Yeah.
na news article, news magazine or news media on it. Pero then again, kasi itong si Lord and Suwan, pag marinig mo siya magsalita, medyo hindi siya ganun ka-sharp, okay? Medyo dull yung pag-iisip niya. Nung Quadcom, siya yung palagi ko nilalait eh. Siya yung pinakapalpag.
Ito ba yung source mo?
Nag-interpolate. Kaya I wouldn't put it past you to say something like that.
Ito ba yung
But
source
sure,
mo? Ito si si Maharlika.
Yeah.
I mean, why would I believe someone like that? I mean, like, look at that thing.
Yeah,
But kidding aside, yeah, yeah.
I guess for me at the end of the day, yun hindi ko alam kung ano yung katotohanan doon or if it's true or not, but at the same time, I think people need to keep their eyes on the ball. One of the key arguments kasi that the troll army is throwing out there as a squid tactic, yung pusit tactics nila, ay sinasabi nga nila na lahat naman daw corrupt kaya bakit daw si Sara ang pinag-iinitan. Alam po nyo, yung ganung argumento, the U2 argument is a logical fallacy. That's another logical fallacy at mali yung ganung
100%.
pag-iisip. Dahil parang sinabi mo na may nahuli tayong magnanakaw pero lahat naman magnanakaw kaya dapat ipakulong natin lahat. Sandali lang. May nahuli na tayong isa, red-handed. Let's deal with this one first. Tapusin natin to para mapakita na hindi tama to, hindi to makakalusot. At pag hindi to nakalusot, then yung iba ka pwede mo nang habulin. Yun lang naman yung sa akin eh. Kaya medyo mahina yung argumentong yun na sabihin na wala kang karapatan magsabi na magnanakaw tong isa kung ikaw din magnanakaw. Pero ito, nakita huli red-handed. Yun ang pinagkaiba nun.
Nakita mo.
Kaya sana lang talaga, remember guys, pag marinig yung argumentong yan, that's how you negate that argument. Okay? That it does not make it right to say na dahil lahat naman magnanakaw, wag na natin i-prosecute itong isang magnanakaw na nahuli na natin. Nahuli na eh. Obvious na eh. So ngayon, kailangan mo ma-prosecute para mapakita mo na totoong may hustisya din sa ating bansa. Otherwise, dito mo mapapakita na dahil lahat nagnanakaw, di wala na lang lahat, di ba?
Well, as Confucius said, the man who chases two rabbits at once catches none. But have you noticed, sino kaya to? Ginawa ng cartoon ng mga DDS. Yan ang
Paano mo
problema.
padala mo sa group chat natin?
Parang
Maya?
kilala mo yata to, di ba? So, I
Hindi
think
ko makita
everyone
maliit
knows.
eh, teka lang.
So, ito yung cartoon ng mga DDS ngayon. Inattack nila. I think this is Cello, right? I think. So, essentially, after everything Cello did to expose the BBM questionable or allegedly questionable, the moment she openly, finally, she criticized very publicly na walang karapatan, walang moral ascendancy. Look at what they did to her. This is what I'm saying eh. This is what I've been warning them. Like, talagang itong mga... Buti ikaw, wala ka pang ganyan na, hindi ka ginawa ng ganyang cartoon, diba? Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Ay, nako.
Basta
Alam mo,
tayo.
Richard, for me, yung ganito lang yung kasimple kasi, I do not want to pander to any political party or any troll army in particular. I will never pander to any of them. I will say my piece and I will not agree just for the sake of being agreeable. Kung mali, mali. Period. Ganun lang kasimple yun. And at the end of the day, bro, I think naman lahat tayo nababash na enough times. Pati si Shelo, nakikita ko nababash yan. Madalas na nga eh. Ganun talaga yon. That's part of the landscape. That's part of what we do. We are vulnerable targets. We are easy targets with what we do. At I actually admire you and I admire din Shelo kasi nakikipagbardagulan din naman siya eh. Kaya mukhang kaya naman yan. Wala
Oo
yan sa
naman,
kanya.
activista
Nakita mo
yan.
kung paano siya makipagsagutan?
Student council lang yan sa UP. Wala yan sa kanya. She's gonna have fun. No, ang point ko lang, ang akin lang, hindi ba sobrang hypocritical na bakit Congress lang yung inattack sa JA? Didn't GA also involve Senate? Why are not the DDS people also questioning the Senate? Including yung mga alay nila
Okay.
sa Senate. Anong ginawa ni Bato? Anong ginawa ni Aimee? Anong ginawa ni Robin Hood? Anong ginawa ni Bongo? Pag-usapan natin. Yun ang hypocritical sa akin eh. Kung may issue kayo sa GA, bakit lower house lang tinitira nyo? Bakit si Martin Romualdez lang? Wala bang say ang Senado? So, mga hipokrito tong mga to eh. Even on this GAA issue, napakawalang niya itong argument nila. It's very hypocritical. Then question the Senate. Anong ginawa ng Senador? Anong ginawa ni Robin Hood Padilla? Pag-usapan natin. That's my problem, brother. That's my problem na walang kakwenta-kwenta yung argument nila. Hindi nga nila ma-explain yung mga Farmali, yung mga kababalagan ni Digong. Hindi nila ma-explain yung mga Marie Grace Piatos. Hindi nila ma-explain yung mga Davao Confidential Fund. Ngayon, purong tira pa nila, lower house lang, hindi yung Senado. So for me, talagang walang kredibilidad ng mga taong yan eh. So, you have to really push back very strong. Having said that, may mga nabwisit sa akin kasi sabi ko, if you want to say this is the worst budget ever, give me a comparative data. Let's be scientific about it. On what metric can you say this is the worst budget? Nagalit yata yung mga ibang kaibigan natin. But that's what I'm saying. If you want to engage in interesting semantics, be my guest, but justify that semantics, my friend, right? justifies that semantics. Again, don't take it against me. I'm just saying, ingat kayo kasi ganyan tong mga DDS na to eh. Gagamitin nila yung semantics na worst
Yes.
budget ever, pinaka-corrupt itong ganyan, crocodiles, tapos parati lakos yung shoot ng mga DDS dun sa mga interview. But you get what I'm saying, bro? I mean, what is the credibility of Vic Rodriguez to talk about this issue?
Ah,
He worked for BBM all these years. He was part of the unit team. He was part of the admin. Trixie Angeles, these people. What is their credibility? They were part of this admin and all of that. They attack us for supposedly being nice to BBM now. Walang ya. Kayong nagpanalo sa mga Marcoses. If there's anyone who should be held accountable for bringing back Marcoses, it's you people. You have zero credibility to say anything about us. I support BBM's West Philippine Sea policy. Sure, because I'm patriotic. I don't want na kakainin tayo ng buhay ng China. And then, ngayon, magdadrama-drama kayo. Yan ang gusto, yan ang ayoko, yung opposition lang dahil nawalan ng posisyon. Or hindi nila nakuha yung gusto nila. So, yun lang bro. Kaya you have to be very aggressive about this. Now, ano masasabi mo naman dun sa mungkahi nila, ano? Love na love ko yan, si Calyodi. Resign all naman. Lahat na lang, resign na lang daw. Ano mungkahi mo dyan? Papunta tayo sa RevGov? Ano ba yan?
Pero yun na nga, yun ang problema sa mga ganyan parang calls for mass resignation. Hindi realistic yan at hindi tatakbo yung ating gobyerno. We need the government to run. Ngayon,
Yeah.
the better approach should be and the more systematic approach is to do this by the law. Do it by the books. In other words, kung may makita kang katiwalian nangyari, edi magsampa kayo ng kaso, file it with the proper channels,
Channels.
whether it's Congress, whether it's Senate, whether it's the judicial system. That's the way to go. Otherwise, calling for mass resignation, it doesn't achieve anything. It sounds good, it gets your name on the headline, but you're really not giving solutions to the problem. Para gumawa ng tamang solusyon, ang dapat sinasabi nyo talaga is, o sige, after kay Sara, tignan natin lahat ng mga budget ng mga tao o kaya magbigay ka na ng warning sa mga tao o lahat kayo mga ahensya, ayusin niyo yung budget nyo para wala tayong maging problema. Let this be a lesson para moving forward, mas maayos tayo magtrabaho at magbigay tayo ng tamang serbisyo. And I think naman, may mga blunders naman talaga ang ating administration ngayon. All administrations
100%,
have
yeah.
blunders.
Maraming kapalpakan din.
Lahat.
100%,
Okay?
100%.
So my point is, sometimes it doesn't mean na it was malicious. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying.
So you're just saying
kadalasan,
sloppy minsan, sloppy lang.
It is
Oversight.
A
sorry.
lot of our government officials are very sloppy because they
Yeah.
just think, basta gawin ko na lang to. Which is, honestly, yung iba lang talaga medyo brazen. At meron talagang mga ganong corruption na nangyayari. But to call for a mass resignation, then even if you throw out everyone in the government, the problem will still be there. This is something that's endemic to Philippine politics and Philippine government. And to change it, you must institutionalize change using the current laws. That's how you do it. Not by mass resignation
Strengthen
and
the
revolution.
institutions. Exactly, work within the system. Kasi, actually, worse, bro, if you create a vacuum, next thing you know, may coup plot. Next thing you know, baka sugurin pa tayo ng China, whatever. I want to transition to our other favorite topic, Donald Trump. So,
wow.
let me just lay it out right off the bat. If there's one thing I like about Donald Trump is that, first of all, he likes podcasters. No, I'm just kidding. No, if there's one thing I like, and UFC. No, but if there's one thing, it's that he dispenses with the war hawk BS in Washington, D.C., which I know very well. So, he's open to a deal with Iran. He doesn't want war with Iran. That's good for me. He wants to end the war in Ukraine. That's good for me. He doesn't want to pick unnecessary fight with China. That's good for me. But, brother, bullying Canada, bullying Mexico, bullying Denmark, bullying allies, more tariffs on Canada than China. Bro, this is crazy. You have Canadian connections, bro. That's too much, man. That's crazy. There's no way I can... So, I'm sorry, dun sa mga MAGA friends natin, in what universe is US bullying its own allies good for us in the Philippines? In fact, it's good for China. In fact, just to tell you, Ursula von der Leyen, who is the foreign policy chief of EU, said last week, we treat China as a systemic rival, but we're open to expand our cooperation with this giant if it's necessary, essentially as a warning to Donald Trump. The head of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Finland said, imagine, did you ever think a day would come that NATO allies in Europe will come together to prepare for possible defense of a member against invasion by US, meaning Denmark on Greenland issue.
Yeah.
This is crazy, brother. And did you know, actually, ang pinaka-idol ni Donald Trump is not only Andrew Jackson, but is actually McKinley, the guy who colonized the Philippines, or actually consolidated American colonization of the Philippines. And McKinley was known for two things: fiscal prudence, which I think you would love. This is the Milley libertarian school, but at the same time, imperial frontier, unabashed expansion of American frontiers. So the whole discussion about Gaza, US will take over,
Yep.
napaka-insensitive. That's ethnic cleansing in international law. This Panama, this Greenland, this is crazy. So, but the Canada one was really insane because there's no nicer country than Canada, brother.
Yep.
There are no nicer people than Canadians and no nicer people to US than Canadians. Really, I didn't, that was crazy.
Yeah, alam mo, yung ginagawa ni Trump, it's a tactic of overwhelming your senses. Yun din yung
Flood the
ginawa ni
zone.
Duterte. Ha?
Flood
Yeah.
the zone, yeah.
Yes. So sobrang daming ginagawa niyang ganyan that you're trying to fight fires when you're trying to react to everything he does. And yung tactic niya talaga is to make the extreme pronouncements. That way you will come to a middle ground closer to his side rather
Right.
than your side. So
So
tactically,
push the
I see
center
why
to his
it.
there. Push the
Oh yeah,
center. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
closer to him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have to give him credit as a tactician that will work, especially if you're coming from a position of power, which he knows that the USA is a very powerful nation.
Sure.
So, ginagamit niya yung lakas niya to be able to get everyone to concede. What's frustrating lang is he is using his power against his own allies, his neighbors, his friends. When you talk about different countries, instead na to cooperate, parang feeling niya kasi inabuso siya parang feeling niya inabuso ang Amerika ng mga kanyang mga allies. Ngayon remember, ang pag-aabuso goes both ways. You allow uh, toxicity to happen if you believe there's toxicity. But at the same time, walang may kasalanan doon at hindi naman niya pwede sabihin in-exploit ng US kasi US was the one who offered a lot of these things. They offered aid, but they offered aid because they also wanted concessions. Remember, when they give financial aid of any kind,
Yeah.
may kapalit yan. At meron kang makukuha dyan, whether it's votes on the UN or in different committees, whether it's to be able to get them on your side on certain issues.
Oh
Maraming mga
yeah, not
kapalit yan. And
the
that was
US
the
doesn't
tactic
give
they
anything
used.
for free. It comes with influence and strings attached, and influence over your policy and government.
Pero siguro Richard, if I may lang if I may. Alam mo, as much as I did disagree with his tactics, I wouldn't do that because I think I can still get what I want from my neighbors if I were the US president without having to resort to bully tactics. Pero alam mo yung counter-argument dito kasi sinasabi ng mga Trump supporters naman ay, pero tingnan mo ngayon, meron ng border security sa Mexico, 10,000 National Guards or military troops have been sent to the border. It worked. In Canada din, they agreed to spend 1.5 billion ba yun on border security. So it worked. So paano mo masasabi na hindi nag-work yung tactic niya when now countries who did not plan to spend this kind of money are now spending it on the requests he wanted by forcing the issue. So, I mean, you can say that, okay, it does work. Why not? Now, ito pa. Now you're also, by his tactics, you're now uniting NATO nations outside of the US, NATO nations to now fund NATO further than their previous commitments, which is sobrang liit at maraming mga delinquent. So ngayon, may arms race na nangyayari doon to be able to defend themselves, and they're all talking now how do we defend ourselves without the US there? Parang ganon, that we don't rely on them. So in a way, maybe this is a good thing. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I think this is part of how you strengthen the global the global socio-economic, socio-political atmosphere. I mean, you have to admit it is kind of working. What do you think?
Well, sanctioning the International Criminal Court, saying just kick out the Palestinians. My problem is that even if he doesn't do it, he's normalizing that kind of behavior. So when Russia comes and takes over Montenegro or Georgia, if China comes and takes over Taiwan, they'll say, "Oh, didn't Trump say this?" Oh, and you said, "Oh, it's okay lang." You get what I'm saying, bro? You're creating a
Yeah.
permission structure. Um, I'm all for hardball negotiation. And of course, US is a superpower, so it's easy for Trump to just bully other countries kasi daming leverage. Speaking of concessions, EU also lower tariff on US car exports. I get that. I get that. I'm not blind to those things. As I said, I even welcome Trump extending the olive branch to adversaries and trying to avoid war in the Middle East or Europe. I'm okay with that. I'm not a hater. I'm open to that idea. Ang point ko lang is, minsan medyo sabog, bro. Minsan it's just getting overboard. And there's always, remember, brother, law of unintended consequences. That you're giving
Yes.
China and Russia and those rivals a way to also normalize their own imperial ambitions. And unlike Trump, maybe China and Russia will really do it, not for just performative. And speaking of defense spending, actually EU was already moving in that direction. Yung 10,000 guards na sinend ng Mexico, they would have done that without embarrassing them or trying to impose. I think, in short, there's a lot of bath water there. In as much as I agree there's a baby there to that kind of tactics and all of that. Medyo sabog lang dating niya sa akin. But this is an age of disruption. So in a way, the academic in me understands that maybe this is just how the world is going to be run by the superpowers henceforth. They're just going to flood the zone and push things in different directions. So as Philippines, what should we do? What do you think, brother?
Pero pare, okay, sige, as Philippines, kasi this is how I view it right now. When you have a strong US president like Trump, na nakikita ng China at ng Russia, the other superpowers, na, uy, hindi mo to pwedeng basta-basta ibubuli, that actually creates a balance, a much-needed balance of another superpower that's willing to talk the talk. And I think with Trump, baka he's willing to walk that talk. So at least nakikita mo dito that possibly naman it could benefit us. But at the same time, I mean, with Trump and how unpredictable he is, he could let Philippines go. I don't think he's that reckless. But I do believe that this is something that we do need. Ngayon, when it comes to yung mga policies niya na parang, oh, you need me more than I need you, therefore, I'm going to impose my will on you and make you suffer so that I am the only one that benefits. May ganun siya eh. He could do that to the Philippines, but at the same time, would an elephant really have any beef with an ant? Di ba? Papatulan mo ba? We're too small an economy. We're not even I think one of the, if you look at one state in the US, they probably have a bigger economy than the entire Philippines. So, tingin ko naman in that sense, hindi niya tayo naman papansinin in that aspect, like the way he's doing it with Mexico and Canada, where it's within the same continent. Ngayon, yung problem ko lang with Trump, is that he is a little bit too hardline and meron siyang imperialistic or authoritarian tendencies sa parang feeling mo nga baka nga talagang gagawin niya yung pag-i-invade ng mga iba't ibang bansa, including getting the Panama Canal back by force, getting Greenland by force, and maybe doing other things by force, and saying that he wanted to annex Canada and make it the 51st state. Oh my God, that kind of talk is insane. So, but again, I think there is method to the shooting from the hip. I think there's a little bit of tactical maneuvering happening there. And by the way, there are some things that he says that I'm glad he said. I agree with him on some of the issues that he's made and some of the executive orders he's made. So it's not all
Is
a
this the
bad
woke
thing for
one?
me for Trump.
Is this the woke one?
Which one? Sige, go.
Hindi,
Makaka-cancel ka dito, Richard, go.
No. Well, I mean, on the issue of women's sports, right? Oh, yeah.
Right. No, I tweeted it. I actually said I agree with Trump on this one. I think that we have to go back to the time where we protect women's rights. Kasi yun na nakakalimutan natin by trying to go so far off the fringe, we forget to defend and protect half of the population, which are biological women. And that's why I like what he did. Ang tapang nung ginawa niya, and he didn't care if he was gonna get canceled. And this is a good thing because at least now, hindi na lang basta-basta makakancel ang mga tao for saying stuff like that. It doesn't make him a bigot. It doesn't make him a racist or a hateful person. He just believes that women's rights should be protected. I believe that too. And I think we forgot about that. Yun lang yun. Ngayon, if people are gonna hate me and say to me, ano ka, galit ka sa LGBTQ community? Of course not. I have a lot of friends in the LGBTQ community. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people in that community agree with me on that statement. Kaya, again, joke lang ako, sinabi ko makakancel ka pag sinabi mo yun. You could get canceled, but really, who's gonna cancel you? I think the tide is turning right now.
Yeah, I'm all for balance. I just hope the tide doesn't become a kind of a scary backlash against minority
Yan.
groups and all. I'm worried about that kasi ang fear ko is yung mga mistake ng mga wokes and pa-wokes people might give a license for weaponization or demonization of minorities and all. So I'm personally conservative socially, I would say, but I'm all for more rights and more recognition of minority rights among other things. So yun lang fear ko that this could go in the wrong direction. Kaya it's also up to the Democratic Party to get its act together because I think they made a lot of mistakes. I think they forgot the class element, they forgot the working class, they forgot the white working class, they
Yep.
overemphasized all of this woke stuff without paying attention to fundamental things. So, for all my criticism of Trump, I understand why he won. I understand why a lot of our friends or even relatives voted for him. I completely understand, brother. I'm just saying, sayang lang kung medyo sabog masyado yung approach sa foreign policy because our friends in China and Russia and all are gonna take advantage of that. No, now you might normalize this kind of 19th century McKinley Jacksonian imperialism, which I don't think is good for us smaller countries. But speaking of Trump administration, on one hand, we have people we interviewed also on this show, like Elbridge Colby, so-called prioritizers, whose argument is that we cannot fight all these wars at the same time. Focus lang tayo sa Asia, China, tulungan natin Pilipinas. But there's a lot of faction called the restrainers. It's led by people like Andrew John Byers, who's now the head of Southeast Asia and Pentagon. Ang argument nila is, let's just cut a deal with China. For instance, tanggalin natin yung EDCA bases and literally said that. And yung Typhoon missile, and then exchange China will just not bully the Philippines too much. Okay na yan. For me, I'm not very happy about some of these appointments. But at the end of the day, we may be a small country compared to US, but I don't think we're completely helpless here. I think one thing we learned from Canada and Mexico is that when they teamed up and pushed back, Trump blinked, right? And then you look at countries like Iran that Trump tried to bully with maximum pressure and all, and they held on, and eventually they might do the same, right? So my point is, we are a mid-sized country, and I think we can hold our line, and I think we can make the most out of our alliance. But I also fear that magkakaroon ng, and this is the next level of discussion I want to have with you because I think you're on the other side of this fence, ideological fence. What do you think about the Elon Musk thing? Kasi nagkakagulo na ngayon sa federal government. Again, in
Yeah.
principle, I know there's a lot of fat that we have to cut from the state machinery. But parang it's like Elon Musk wants to pull off a Milei in the United States when Argentina is a very different country from US. I mean, Argentina was a mess. Inflation was like triple
Yeah.
digit, like like
Right.
the state machinery was overly bloated, and Argentina is not a superpower. I mean, no offense. US is a superpower. If their state gets sabog and it affects their foreign policy, the US aid is already affected. So, do you think that Elon Musk is going too far, or again, is your argument that you need that kind of an accelerator model once in a while to get things going?
Yeah, I think that again ako no, although I think that Elon Musk is a little bit too much, to be honest with you. But like you said nga, sometimes maybe disruptors are really needed to be able to shake things up. Mind you, ang nakakatakot lang sa ginagawa niya ngayon is he's cutting too fast, too quick, and too many things without understanding the repercussions. I think
Bara-bara.
baka maraming collateral damage ang pwede mangyari sa mga ginagawa niyang cuts that could inadvertently push us back all that hard work, mga 10, 20 years, decades. You're talking about decades. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I do see where there are a lot of mistakes made and a lot of spending that shouldn't have been spent.
Yeah.
But that is, again, and I've been talking to this with another podcaster, the problem with the government DNA. Government DNA kasi is made to spend. They're not made to save. They're not
Yeah.
made to have a balanced budget, unfortunately. So with that DNA, ang ginagawa ng lahat ng gobyerno ay gumastos tayo, mas malaki sa ating kinikita, at okay lang yun na taon-taon tataasan pa natin ang budget. That will implode eventually. And we are coming to that point of implosion that there could be a massive global recession to reset economies. Kaya naintindihan ko naman why this is happening. I think lang that he is overstepping a lot of people and overstepping the Constitution and the different branches of government. I think if they were going to do that, they have to do it legally and make sure that they have the legal basis and the support to be able to do it without, but if they can cut out the red tape, cut it out. Kasi medyo maraming red tape. Yun lang. So, may lumalaban naman sa kanya ngayon eh. Remember that there are a lot of cases being filed against
Yeah. by
Elon Musk, and I
federal
think there were
employees.
TROs already issued. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this again, pushback like this is good. It shows you what can and cannot be done, and it actually will strengthen the U.S. as a country when you see this and you matetest nila talaga kung ano ba ang limits ng batas dito.
Last point, let's talk about your pet peeve. Cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin was a little bit going crazy over the past month or so. I was expecting it to do well. Ethereum not doing so well. Ito na, crypto bro na tayo. And some people were saying that some of the Trump tariff crazy stuff kind of contributed to some of the big institutional investors to reconsider their investments. Although BlackRock and some of these guys are still very bullish that we're looking towards a good horizon down the road. What is your sense about this? Are you surprised by Bitcoin not doing as well in the past 2 months since Trump won, or do you think this is just a blip and eventually we're moving in the right direction? Obviously, I'm asking you as an advocate of digital currency for a number of reasons.
So, yung isang nangyayari ngayon, maraming mga good news when it comes to cryptocurrency adoption and country adoption. But we notice that the price is not reflecting all of
Yeah,
those good
yeah,
news.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
maganda yung usapan namin with one of the OG traders. Sabi nga niya sa akin na pag ganun karaming mga good news tapos hindi mo nakikita kung bakit yung price, it could be the top. And that means that
Yeah.
actually, not just for crypto, but there could be a recession right around the corner. A massive recession that's about to happen this year. Yun ang sinasabi nila. Kasi pag tinignan mo daw yung and this is gonna get a little bit complicated, guys, but just to keep it simple, there's a chart called the inverted yield curve.
Yeah.
Itong yield curve na to, pag nag-reverse na siya at pababa na, susunod, few months later, always a big recession. This is what preceded the 2008 crash. This preceded the 1997 crash. It preceded a lot of different crashes and it just flipped. So, that's why some of my trader friends right now are actually holding cash. At pag makita mo yung mga big billionaires like Warren Buffett, they're actually on the sidelines right now. Hawak na nila cash na
But
lang
he's
ngayon.
buying a lot of Chinese
Nag-aantay
stocks.
na sila.
But he's buying
I'm
a
sorry?
lot of Chinese stocks. Buffett just had an op-ed on New York Times the last week saying, so I'm just telling our friends, ito yung range of discussion natin, right? So just the other week, he said, I'm gonna buy Chinese. And he was talking about Chinese stocks, especially in light of the DeepSeek Sputnik moment, if I can put it that way. Of course, I doubt that they really just spent $5 million, but man, give it to the Chinese. They really can pull off fantastic stuff. And they really showed na sobrang exaggerated itong OpenAI, mga expenditure projections sila. And napayari ng NVIDIA. I mean, so there's the China aspect also here, right? China is big, and they could affect also how the world moves forward, and they're pulling off some interesting things. I mean, Warren Buffett is saying, let's buy Chinese stocks.
Hey, and you know what? That's a good thing. Kasi when U.S. companies and U.S. and Americans are buying Chinese assets, all right, that creates influence on those companies to be
Yeah.
able to influence their direction. So that's actually not a bad thing. So yes, that's happening right now. And plus, he's hedging his bets. Kasi remember,
Yeah.
with Trump winning, you don't know what's going to happen to the U.S. economy. Remember, the inflation rate in the U.S. and the national debt is massive. Their interest debt servicing is massive. It is one of their biggest expense. So nakikita niyo, there's a possibility that U.S. companies are going to they're going to crash in price. Kaya nag-hedge siya all over the world.
Yeah.
Ngayon, Chinese stocks, I don't think are probably as inflated as it should be. Maybe that's
Yeah.
why he's hedging on those ones as well. And by the way, I'm gonna comment about DeepSeek. Hindi ko alam kung alam mo to. Did you hear about all these people that have been trying to, and I tested it myself, to talk to DeepSeek about topics that are political when
Oh
it
yeah,
comes to
yeah, yeah. You
China?
cannot ask Tiananmen, West Philippine Sea. So obviously it's censored, just like TikTok and all. Buti nga nakapasok ka eh. Yung by the time na gusto kong pumasok, bawal na. Dapat Chinese number, meron kang Chinese number kasi na-hack daw sila eh. Because 'di ba open
Oh,
system siya eh. Open, you can see the skeleton
oh,
inside.
no
Hindi ko
way.
naabutan para yeah, sayang. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's Chinese AI, so obviously it's just like TikTok. Go and say something on Uyghurs or Tiananmen, good luck sa'yo, di ba? So I have no illusions, but from a technical standpoint, I'm very impressed with China. And they're Asian brothers. I mean, for me, nakita mo yung mga joke na parang AI competition. Yung puro mga Chinese na Americans versus Chinese na like, who got the best Asians, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm proud of our Asian folks doing so well on this front. But
Right.
interesting times. I'm just saying, interesting times because US is no longer the only center of the universe. I think China is the other center, yeah.
And I'm gonna add that alam mo with what Trump's doing right now, he could inadvertently create a new world order. Meaning that it's possible that suddenly if he started to bully everyone will start to form new alliances and then shut out the United States from
BRICS.
global
BRICS,
trade.
brother. BRICS
Yeah,
currency.
well,
BRICS.
I don't know if I want to be part of BRICS, man. Like, look at what BRICS are. What B is for Brazil, R is for Russia, I is, well, India, okay pa yon. Then C is China, S is South Africa, is it?
Yeah.
So, some of South Africa is fine, pero to align with Russia or China, hell no. My God, you want to be under their authoritarian regime na nakita mo nga Russia itself with Putin trying to basically use the entire economy as his bank account. That's
Yeah.
not the way to go. But there will be alliances. Imagine if, well, let's say, Europe and Southeast Asia and Asia without China suddenly became all allies with Japan, South Korea, yung mga powerhouses like even Singapore. It sounds like everyone gets together. Can you imagine? That can happen. And we shut out the US because the fact is, with the Trump tariff plan, I understand what he's trying to do. He wants kasi to be able to eliminate or lower the income tax. And I think he wants to go to zero with income tax. I actually like that plan. Ngayon, he wants to charge everyone to be able to create the revenue they need in place of that income tax. But again, doing it in such a harsh manner and so randomly, with the way he goes, 25%. Saan galing yung 25%? It was so arbitrary. Yan ang magiging problema sa mga ganong klaseng arbitrary na mga numbers na binabato ni Trump. It could backfire. But if it works, hey, kudos to him. But if it doesn't work, it could make life a living hell for Americans in the coming years.
Literally, the guy who's running now the trade policy of Trump, who's the protege of former trade negotiator Lighthizer. I was with him in a conference the other year in Singapore, and I asked him point blank, "Do you think the world should de-risk from the U.S. if Trump goes off the rails?" And no one responded. But I think that could be the direction of more countries hedging, because I'll be honest, I think I'm a little bit more skeptical. I think some of Trump's policies on fiscal policies, even his tariff policies, could be too disruptive to undermine US economy and even trigger recession. So that could force other countries to create counter alliances and all of that. But again, we are ending on the note that we started. This is the era of disruptors, and I think both of us are disruptors in our own ways. So in one way or another, we want to embrace it. But I hope in our own little ways we can also inspire other people to be much more comfortable with uncertainty. Because unfortunately, there's one thing that no one can offer nowadays, even the US or China, is certainty. Wala na yan. 21st century is going to be the age of disruption, as I had it in a lecture the other day in Manila House. Thank you very much, brother, for that really wide-ranging discussion. This is really what people need, right? Don't worry, hindi lang puro Duterte ang topic natin. We covered a lot of bases, and don't worry, next time we'll have more of your idol, Milei. We'll talk about my girl, Meloni. We're gonna talk about, who's that? Our friend, Bitcoin King. Was that yung El Salvador? I like, what's his name?
Si Bigele.
Bukele. Yeah. We'll talk about
Yeah.
Bukele. Magre-Ray-Ban shades tayo pag pinag-usapan natin. My man. So there are a lot of these characters we want to talk about. And you know me, even if sutil ako, I throw shades, I understand why these people are coming to power. And these are also disruptors in their own way. And they're all very popular, especially Bukele. And Milei is maintaining very high approval rating. A little bit different with Urban. But anyway, exciting times, disruptors time, and looking forward, brother, to talking to you in studio, God willing, starting next week or
Yes.
so. Marami tayong pag-usapan, and good luck to you as the election season officially starts. So we will have to talk more also about your campaign. Is there a way for your volunteers? Meron ka ng page? Meron ka ng Substack page?
Meron na actually. Just go to my Facebook page, guys. At Coach Kristan. Makita niyo yung Facebook page ko. And you can just message me there. I'd love to get all the help. And if you can inform for people in Mandaluyong that I'm running, that would be an amazing help to get my name out there at para makilala lang tayo at para lalo pa tayong mas maraming matutulungan. Hey Richard, salamat din sa oras mo and I look forward to our discussions in person.
Yes,
This is gonna
brother.
be exciting, this new development that we haven't told anyone. So,
Yeah. So
makita nila.
just a teaser, we're working also on doing our own studios together. Medyo Diaries of CEO / Jordan Peterson / Huberman. Medyo may mga ganun tayong vibes na gagawin. Salamat, brother. Our love and support to you. Mabuhay ka for your courage, for your weird ideas. No, but for your just being a really, I would say, game. You're really a sportsman. That's what I appreciate. I mean, I have a lot of people saying that I don't agree with Kristan, but I love your dynamic because you're so chilling and your chemistry is great because walang insecurity, walang tension, walang competition. We're just grooving, brother. And let's continue to groove, God willing, inshallah. And let's continue to do this. Have a lovely weekend, Sabbath day tomorrow, and take care of yourself, brother. Stay young, stay awesome.
Okay, ingat Richard. Goodbye everyone.
Goodbye. Ciao. Woo! Booyaka siya, guys. Yan, the latest episode ng Toxic Masculinity. Yan naman tayo. No, guys, come on. Come on, guys. It's unfair. This has been, ay nako. Anyway, we're not here to fight. We're just here to disrupt. So, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Mukhang sa TikTok lang naman nagtotroll ng ibang tao sa atin, but I really appreciate your kind suggestions and comments among others on different platforms. Please don't forget to follow us on Spotify. Medyo nag-Batman mode tayo, so I put the kind of different picture, but it's still me. Deep Dive with Richard Haydarian. Also dito on TikTok, Richard Haydarian 007. Please don't forget to follow us para naman may pangtapat tayo sa mga DDS natin na nagtutroll sa atin 24/7 na wala naman effect sa atin, but who knows, we can make things more interesting. And continue to also follow us on YouTube, Richard Haydarian Vlogs, Vito sa Facebook, Richard Foronda Haydarian. And yeah, please continue to support us, and as Kristan mentioned, hopefully we're trying to come up with more in studio talks together para you can have a version of us talking face to face, kind of do our own kind of Huberman style, Joe Rogan style conversation, but minus all the alt-right Trumpian blah blah. All right, thank you so much again for your kind support and love, and pasensya na guys if for some reason minsan medyo bardagulan or whatever. In an hour from now, we're gonna have Sabbath day. Whether you're Jewish or Christian, whatever religion you have, always make sure you dedicate one day of your life, one day of your week, to the praise of the Almighty Lord, and also spending time with your family, loved ones, and knowing thyself as the first, essentially, kung you go to the Delphic temple dyan on the outskirts of Athens, diba? Know thyself. Spend some time also on self-awareness. And don't worry, for all of my for all of my bardagulan and all, I always make sure I put some time for self-awareness and all of that, because no one is perfect, and we have to learn. And in the age of disruption, we have to constantly innovate and up our game and upgrade our software. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your support that makes it possible for us to upload, download, to do these different things. Thank you so much sa lahat ng mga supportan nyo, the stickers, the stars, everything you send, guys. We invested into our equipments, into our cameras, into our studios, into, I don't know, iPad Pro or whatever, laptop Pro, whatever we can have so that we can edit these things. Kasi hindi po madali yan. Actually, humina na mata ko ng significantly since a few years ago. I was able to keep my eyes very strong for a lot of time, but unfortunately because of this itong work natin dito. But again, if this is what the Lord wants for us in terms of our dedication, if this is our little way of contributing, kahit konyo tayo, kahit konyotic tayo, kahit ayaw nyo yung pagsasalita natin, whatever, guys, we're doing what we're doing. So thank you so much for your support that has allowed us to build some basic infrastructure, and we're hoping to keep on developing this basic infrastructure we have to give you the highest quality kind of production possible. Thank you very much. Mabuhay kayo and have a blessed Sabbath day tomorrow. Salamat po. Thank you very much. Very kind of you.